All right, great afternoon once again to you all who have joined us on today's edition of the program, Scoreboard Reloaded, right here on 32 FM 94.9. Well, after 4 home games, 4 away games in the newly introduced UEFA Champions League format, well, we have 8 teams already qualified into the round of 16, and then we have another that's 16 teams in the playoffs of this year's edition of the UEFA Champions League. And from those 16 teams, 8 would be eliminated also to team up with the already qualified 8 into the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League for the 2024-2025 season. Well, teams they've been out of the competition, but this lovely afternoon we take a look at some interesting statistics from the games and also from the just concluded group phase or league phase of the UEFA Champions League. We'll talk about the highest goal scorer, the team with the best defense in the competition, the team with the most clean sheet also in the UEFA Champions League, and then the game that produced the highest goal line, the highest score line in the UEFA Champions League for this season. Remember that we still have the knockout phase of the competition to go, but after the concluding part of the group phase, of the league phase, what and where do we stand? Well, we'll talk about the UEFA Champions League. Aside from that, also we still reflect on some games that went down yesterday, especially the Oluyole Warriors' victory over Nasarawa United yesterday. 2-0 in front of their home fans. That will make it 6 games without conceding for Mustafa Lawal in the colors of the Oluyole Warriors. And of course, a lot of people have said, shooting stars, can they go on to win the league title after playing 20 games in the Nigeria Premier Football League? We are still 6 points behind the Remo Stars, who definitely have played a game more ahead of the Oluyole Warriors. But for Enyimba Football Club, who are presently in action against against Atlanta Football Club of Emmanuel Amunike, well, they are losing by 1-0. And then the question also comes, what has Stanley Eguma, well, how is he faring since he took over from Yemi Olanrewaju as the new head coach of the Aba Warlords in the Nigeria Premier Football League? Well, outside football stories, we also discuss about the interesting world of Formula 1 where Lewis Hamilton is in the news. Well, for his Ferrari, remember that he left the Ferrari. He left the Mercedes last year and he has teamed up with the Ferrari, but Lewis Hamilton crashed the Ferrari on the second day of running there at Barcelona. Well, it's still a test practice for Lewis Hamilton in the colors of the Ferrari. So we'll discuss about that. And then we have updates from the world of transfer as well. Joan Duran, the Colombian international, Unai Emery has come out to say that if he leaves, it's actually a good one for Aston Villa. Why is it a good one for Aston Villa? You get to know the reason from the words of Unai Emery. And then managerial moves. Well, it's still in the news also for Steven Gerrard, the former Aston Villa manager. He has left Al Ettifaq after 18 months in charge. But what's next for the Englishman? We don't know. And for Borussia Dortmund, well, they have a new manager also in charge, and his name is Niko Kovac. Who is Niko Kovac? Well, definitely Niko Kovac is actually a big name when we talk about German football as well. So definitely all of this we have lined up for you on today's edition of the program, as we also look out into the games set to go down today in the UEFA Europa League. Well, for some teams, they want to qualify automatically into the round of 16. That's the same way it applies to the UEFA Champions League. It also applies to the UEFA Europa League. 9 to 24, they'll play in the playoffs. 25 to 36, they'll be knocked out of the competition. But then, where does Manchester United lie for Tottenham Football Club, the other English sides in this competition, Italian side? How did they fare in the UEFA Europa League? And today definitely is the last day for survival for some teams in the UEFA Europa League. So all of this we have lined up for you on today's edition of the program. So I'm joined by Peter in the studio, and I say good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon, SAMIES. Pleasure to be here.
Well, a pleasure definitely to do this alongside you. And then we'll talk about the UEFA Champions League from the games that went down yesterday. Quickly, before I get your thoughts, for Serger's side, this is about some statistics from the games that went down in the UEFA Champions League. We have Serger's side of Borussia Dortmund and Robert Lewandowski. They were the highest goal scorers in this year's league phase of the UEFA Champions League with 9 goals each. And then we have Charles de Ketelaere, that's of Atlanta Football Club. He was on target yesterday against Barcelona, and he has the highest assist in the competition with 5 assists. Well, never in doubt for that the Italian side, Inter Milan, Jan Sommer, is the best goalkeeper, well, with 7 clean sheets. And also for his side, that's Inter Milan. They kept 7 clean sheets in. That's the 8 games that they played in the UEFA Champions League, conceding just once. And then we'll talk about the highest goal scorer in a game that's in the league phase of the UEFA Champions League, and that happens to be Harry Kane against the Dynamo Zagreb in that 9-2 victory, which happens to be the biggest scoreline in the UEFA Champions League league phase. But the question of Vincent Kompany, how is his side going to fare? Remember that the going just got tough for him. That's what we'll talk about the UEFA Champions League. Remember that they can face off against Manchester City that's a bid to qualify to the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League. So now quickly, let's take a look at some teams with the highest goal scored in the UEFA Champions League. Now start from FC Barcelona, who definitely run riot against some teams. They scored 28 goals in the league. Borussia Dortmund 22 goals, Real Madrid 20 goals, Bayern Munich and that's Atletico de Madrid. They all scored 20 goals as well. But the least considered side, that's Inter Milan. For Liverpool and Arsenal Football Club, they also have 5 clean sheets amongst themselves. But right yesterday, we were probably on verge to see a side in the newly introduced league phase of the UEFA Champions League go 8 games without a defeat. But that will not be matched. But a record can be set in the UEFA Champions League in the coming seasons. Liverpool Football Club yesterday, they lost that was in Netherlands by 3-2 to the hands of PSV in the UEFA Champions League. So these are some statistics, and the most goals are considered. We have Slovan Bratislava and RB Salzburg. That's in the UEFA Champions League. So these are some stats from the just concluded league phase of the UEFA Champions League. So Peter, I ask you, from all the games that went down yesterday, which game caught your attention?
I'll say all the games did because my view yesterday was not just watching one game. At a point in time, I just need to make do of my glasses just to ensure that I just have the sites to watch. But what was good, even though I had my issues with how UEFA decided to went about the games yesterday, and you must understand that for fairness, all the games will have to go for 9. I was saying maybe have half of the games done, early kickoff, and the other half coming up later in the day. But if you check, I don't think that will be fair on the other teams. This is a new format. I've got my issues with it, but like I also had issues with VAR over time, be able to adjust. Same will apply to this. Don't think this is the best way to go about it. But we know what UEFA is contending with, the Super League, so they have to come up with this. Good that we're here yesterday, not sure of how the heavyweight will fare, but if you take a look at the teams that will not be in any of the UEFA Interclub competition, you won't find any of your heavyweights dropping down. So the heavyweights find their way yesterday. Manchester City being the last, how they got their win against Club Brugge from we go down, and how they won by 3-1 after what happened at one of the franchise inside the stadium at the Etihad yesterday. They put that behind them. You heard from Pep saying that would have been the headline, but it wasn't. And so they were in the round of the playoff. And the playoff also, you begin to see the names that they might likely play against. Either they play Bayern or they play the king of the competition, Real Madrid, in the playoff before they see how they play in the round of 16. Even though these are in the public domain, if you lay your hands on it, you can do the permutation yourself. Arsenal will probably find out the round of 16 opponents after we're done. Juventus, Milan, Feyenoord, or PSV. So they will sit to watch. But Friday, 12 noon Nigerian time, is the time in Lyon, Switzerland. We'll find out how all of these will play out. It's going to be an interesting thing, even though, like I said the other time, the ties are there for everyone to see. 9 versus 10, 11 versus 12, and so on. And each pair is drawn into opposite halves of the knockouts brackets. Example, like I said, Real, Bayern finish 11-12, cannot meet until the final. Same as Liverpool and Barcelona cannot play until the final also. So you see all of this playing out, and we'll just wait to see how the draws will go down on Friday. But interesting start to roll out there. To see Robert Lewandowski and Serge Gnabry finishing with 9 goals. You see how Lille were good last night, winning in their game by 6-1 against a final side that was beating Bayern a couple of days ago at home in Rotterdam, and how they lost yesterday. Yes, how the likes of Stade Brest also from France find their way into the knockout stage. So for me, it's interesting to see 2 English sides finishing in the top 8. Villa also joined them to make 3 teams. Inter Milan were held their own, and for to put the record straight also, you said they conceded just 1 goal, and that 1 goal they conceded was against Bayer Leverkusen, scored by Nodi Mukiele, the French boy who's on loan from Paris Saint-Germain to Bayer Leverkusen. So it's good to see all of this played out, and of course to crown everything up will be Friday when we'll find out how the playoff draws will be going down. And then we'll see. Tonight is a turn for the second tier of the European club competition.
Well, definitely for tonight, we would see that the second tier of that's the UEFA competition. That's the UEFA Europa League go down. And as this is the same way for the UEFA Champions League. Also, it would be for the UEFA Europa League. Now, for Manchester United, well, just the emphasis on Manchester United because probably they are the biggest side in the competition. Because we have no Aston, that's Sevilla, that's in this. So we can probably say we have Manchester United as the biggest side in the UEFA Europa League. Or do you have something otherwise? Would you pick Ajax as also a big side in the competition?
Yeah, you take that in a way. Yes, we know they've not been the same Ajax with new green hub. But hey, they're still there. They've won the UEFA Champions League before, so you can't whisk them away from all of this. But before we jump into the UEFA Cup, one more thing for me to add from the UEFA Champions League. I know in this stage we talk about the same FA not meeting. When I say the same FA, 2 teams playing in the same league can't meet, but that is off it now because 2 teams in the same FA can get to meet. So don't be surprised when you see a certain Paris Saint-Germain playing against AS Monaco or play against Stade Brest. That's in the UEFA Champions League. But back to the UEFA Cup that you talk about. And let me also quickly add that the teams who fail to win the knockout games in the playoff, rather, let me use the word playoff in the UEFA Champions League, the other 8 will drop down. So when you mention United being the biggest team, it will be fair for us to say for now, because you never can tell. Any of these heavyweights can drop down into the UEFA games, and then you begin to see all of this play out.
Okay, let's see how that goes. For Lazio, they are top of the pile with 19 points. And maybe for Lazio, they've qualified automatically. You look at the level of the goal difference. They have also 17 goals scored, 4 goals considered. That's a goal difference of plus 13. And for other sides, I would be in action. And that's talking about the side that can leapfrog them on goal difference. I don't see any doing that. That's Frankfurt and Athletic Club. So maybe for Lazio, they are top of the UEFA Europa League standing, and they've qualified automatically. But for Frankfurt, Club Brugge, Athletic Bilbao, Manchester United, we also have Lyon, Hoffenheim, Anderlecht. We also have, is this a Basel? Not Basel, from Belgium. We also have a Galatasaray in that mix also. It's also one of those sides, Bodo Glimt. Victoria Pleasant, Olympiacos, Rangers, AZ Alkmaar, Union St. Galilios. We also have Ajax, PAOK Thessaloniki, Real Sociedad, Midtjylland, Elfsborg, AS Roma, Ferencváros, Fenerbahce, Besiktas. All of these sides are vying to make it into the playoffs of the UEFA Champions League. But things can change for them. But how competitive has the UEFA Europa League been also for all of these sides? And considering Manchester United, Tottenham, Galatasaray, all of these sides that they've not been at their best. Because in a normal day, you look at these sides and say, on a good day, they should be having, let's say, 21 points from their games played.
It won't come that easy. It won't come cheap. The other teams are not there to count bridges when they go play in some of these venues. But last year are
unbeaten.
Yeah, they've played 7 games. Like we see right there in front of us. They've won most of their games in Rome and away from Rome, where, of course, they're not doing badly also in the league. But again, it's not a guarantee that they'll go ahead and win. win the competition at the end of the day. But it's good that they've been able to have these wins, and so it makes the last game, very easy. We saw what Liverpool did yesterday. They won 7 of their opening games, and they went to Eindhoven to play against PSV, and they went with some of the academic players, and of course a mixture of some of the experienced one. Yes, we know they lost, but the job was done on time. So if you get your job done on time, good for you. Some teams will be badly looking for a win tonight. Some will just be looking for a point. As it stands right now, some will probably not bother. Just the only thing is that they will have extra games. Like I was talking about the games in the UEFA Champions League earlier. The teams who finish 8th, the top 8 teams will not bother about extra games in the month of February. But the likes of Bayern, the likes of Real, the likes of Manchester City, Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, and the rest will have to bother for extra game. That will be the 11th and the 12th of next month. So for the teams who finish in the top 8, they don't bother. So same also apply for the UEFA Cup games. The UEFA teams also battling the UEFA end of it. They're also looking at, let's get this job done on time. So once we get our job done on time, we don't need to have extra games in the month of February. They have time to rest. So I think for Lazio, good for them to have gone this far. And of course, they also want to progress and win more games.
Well, no side wants to be left behind in this competition. But later today, the action definitely would be among some certain teams. And from those games, we look at Anderlecht, who will be up against Hoffenheim. AS Roma also will be up against Eintracht Frankfurt. Ajax will be up against Galatasaray later today. For this side, I think this is somewhat of the biggest game for me tonight in the UEFA Europa League. Ajax against the Galatasaray. Take a look at where the both are on the standings. It is not the best position for them. For Galatasaray, they have 13 points, and for Ajax, they have 10 points from their standing. So for the 13 points, can they be knocked out? No, they can't be knocked out. But they will still stay within the balance of playing in the playoffs. But for Ajax, who has 10 points, can they be dropped back? Yes, they can. If Porto gets a victory, definitely it's going to be leapfrogging them. And then you talk about the sides on 9 points. If they get a victory also, the likes of AS Roma, Ferencváros, Fenerbahce, Besiktas, they will definitely displace Ajax Amsterdam in that playoff zone. So for me, this is the biggest game. Or do you have something otherwise from the games that set to go down later tonight?
When we use the word big, is a little bit relative because some other games are also big in perspective of who are the club side playing. When you're jostling for points, when you need a point badly to qualify for either the playoff or you probably finish in the top 8 and wait for the other 8 coming to play you in the round of 16 is big. So I know Ajax and Gala, 2 giants in European club competition, Amsterdam, and of course one coming from Turkey. And so you begin to wonder how, yes, if that is not big. Of course it is big, like I was saying, Ajax, Galatasaray, anytime, any day, anytime. These are 2 club sides playing each other. But like I said the other time, if you have to look well, you find out that some clubs are also looking at these games tonight and say, you know what, we must go in there and get maximum point. Yes, I agree. These are big 2 sides. But I just think that these 2 will find a way, if not hitting the top 8. Of course, Ajax can hit the top 8. Gala can't. Gala can still finish in a respectable position and qualify for the playoffs. So it's all about qualifying for the next stage. Doesn't matter how you go about it. You eat play the playoff or you eat the top 8. It's just good. I'm just waiting tonight again to see how all of these games will be going down across 18 venues. We're talking about 36 teams and 18 venues with 18 officials in charge.
There is one thing I actually want to, more than 18 officials, if you count the...
I'm going to talk about the VAR too. I'm not talking about the men in the center.
The level of officiating from the games in the UEFA Champions League, how would you rate the level of officiating compared to the so-called best league in the world?
We don't have to do any kind of comparison because this is UEFA putting one of their finest on display, unlike what we have in the league. So maybe I will not want to put attention more on comparing UEFA competition with what you have it in the English Premier League, what have happened in the last few days. I think for the games last night, they all went down well. UEFA also know that to some extent they have to be spot on. So for me, on the scale of 10, I'd say the job yesterday was about 8 and 8 over 10. Perfect job done yesterday, and hopefully tonight again we'll see those games. So UEFA will always put their best officials in charge of these games.
Well, I think we need to move away from this also because there are some stories I'm seeing in the world of transfer which definitely are shocking to me. But before we talk about transfer stories also, let's take a listen to the words of Unai Emery while reacting to Jean Duran leaving Aston Villa to join up with Al Hilal there in Al Nassr.
Okay, Al Nassr, yeah. All right.
In Saudi Arabia. The words of Unai Emery.
And I don't know exactly until everything is done if John Duran is leaving or not. But if he's leaving, it's good news for us. Because they are paying good money, because it's good for him, because as well we develop one young player in 2 years getting this offer. And this is one thing, it's not only for the club, it's the club, the players, and the team. Those three circumstances can be positive for maybe and minimum for two: club, the player, and the team. I didn't respond you, but I don't know if he's going to leave or not.
All right, there you listen to the words of Unai Emery. But before we take more reaction from the world of transfer, yesterday it was a victory for the 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors, and not only the 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors. We had other sides in the NPFL. Remo Stars in that 5-goal thriller also winning against Abia Warriors, and then no away victory still in the Nigeria Premier Football League since the resumption of the second stanza. But yesterday, 6 games, 6 clean sheets on the roll for Mustafa Lawal. And of course, a good performance from the 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors, whom of course they battled against the 20th placed side in the NPFL standing.
Simple for Shooting Stars, like I said. You just get your win. If you get your win, you jump to second. Rangers failed to do their job earlier in the week, and so Shooting Stars, job done. They have an outstanding game, don't forget. That will be against Kwara United.
Yes, correct.
But this one yesterday, job done. And like I said, if you do well, definitely the fans will come in their numbers to come watch. And the fans were there in their numbers yesterday to watch. So second place for Shooting Stars, that's the continental spot. But hey, man, we've got a long way to go. Shooting Stars, they need to keep up this momentum, win your games at home. Quite simple in the NPFL. If Shooting Stars can win all their games at home and go away from home and pick a couple, 1-2 wins away from home, come on, that's continental football. But Remo Stars, they're also saying, we finished second on 2 occasions, we want to go win the league for the 2 points. Good game. We're enjoying in the NPFL. Hope again that we'll get to see more games. As we speak right now, you were telling me the other time, Heartland away from home in Aba against Eyimba. Heartland beating Eyimba of Aba by a goal to nil. We'll wait to see what the final result will be at the end of 90 minutes.
Well, at the end of 90 minutes, let's see what the final result would be. Well, it's half-time, Eyimba against Heartland Football Club. So quickly, a bit of transfer stories. Prince Abdulaziz bin Turki Al, that's Faisal. He tells that in an interview that it would be a privilege to see Mo Salah in Saudi Arabia, saying that he's the most high-profile Muslim player in the world, and he's one of the best 2-3 players in the world. He hasn't signed a new contract yet, but it's up to the club. So that's for those the Saudi Pro League who want Mohamed Salah to come be their poster boy. But I think that's the reason why they're actually looking at maybe getting Mohamed Salah on board.
Now that you have Neymar going back to Santos, I think this might just be a reality. It might just be a reality. I will not be surprised if Mo Salah at the end of this window, I would say window now. Yes, this transfer window, you begin to see that news coming from Saudi Arabia generating more momentum. So like he said, he is the biggest Arab player as we speak. No doubt about that. They want him in the Saudi Pro League. And I think if Liverpool don't do anything between now and the end of the season, it might just be on that flight to Riyadh.
Well, still talking about transfer, Milan Skriniar, he is now a new Fenerbahce player that's moving from PSG on loan to join Fenerbahce. And then we talk about this shocking one which definitely came my way a few minutes ago. It's about Alvaro Morata, set to join Galatasaray from AC Milan. Well, I'm shocked to see this move. But then it is confirmed that Hakim Ziyech also he has left Galatasaray to join Al-Duhail, that's in Qatar, and that is also confirmed. For the Moroccan.
For Gala, Icardi is out for the rest of the season, and they've got Batshuayi and Victor Osimhen, and AC Milan on the other hand are trying to bring in Jimenez from Feyenoord. a fee of about 30 million is being discussed among parties. So maybe AC Milan are looking at that deal happening. Jimenez joining from Rotterdam, talking about from Feyenoord to Milan. And so it makes sense for them to allow one of the strikers to go. Don't forget, there's got no Okafor, who almost joined Leipzig. That move didn't happen. He might be on his way out of Milan. They've also got Tammy Abraham in their side, who joined them from Roma. So Morata leaving for Gala, that will not be a surprise to me if AC Milan gets Jimenez from Feyenoord.
Well, that should be how much we can go on today's edition of the program. But we're back tomorrow to talk about some updates from the games that are set to go down and later tonight in the UEFA Europa League. But tomorrow is Friday. And of course, it's the build-up to the weekend. I am SAMIES, your sports captain, and I've done this alongside Peter. Do enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.
Kò ṣeé má gbọ́ BBC Yorùbá.
Ọ̀rọ̀ ò mà tí ì tán lórí ìdá 50% àfikún owó tàríìfù ìpè àti dátà.
Kí ló tún ṣẹlẹ̀ o? Ṣó ti wálẹ̀ ni?
Rárá o, ẹgbẹ́ òṣìṣẹ́ NLC ló kéde pé àwọn ṣetán láti ṣèwọ́de tako àfikún owó ìpè àti dátà ọ̀hún.
Tí ìjọba kò bá pàṣẹ ìdádúró àfikún owó náà láìpẹ́.
Lọ́jọ́ wo wà ní ìwọ́de ọ̀hún yóò